Year Up is YUPRO is Year Up Professional Resources. I am also an alum of the Year Up program. I graduated from the DC site back in 2007, y'all. Don't ask me my age, okay? Don't ask my age. But, we also have some other Year Up alumni here as well that are actually on the panel. And I'm going to ask if they don't mind introducing themselves. Jasmine and Zach, whoever feels, propelled to go first. If you want to just come off mute, if you can introduce yourself and talk about what you're currently doing, what your current position is, and where you are.
I'll go ahead and start. So hey, everybody. Thank you for the introduction, Deidra. This is a really full house, a little bit more than I expected, which is great. So I'm Zach. I have been working in data analytics for a good few years. I got my start right after my internship, which when I graduated, that was from the Atlanta site, class 13, that's 2016, for some frame of reference. When I finished my internship, I got offered a position at my internship company working in business intelligence, which is really the first I had ever even heard the term. So when they asked me if I wanted to do a job, I was like, yeah, totally, yeah, sure, I'll do business intelligence, whatever. And next thing I know, I'm just deeply immersed in what ended up being one of the hottest fields in technology. I did not know what I was getting myself into, but I'm glad I went for it. And here I am today working as a data engineer for Aderant. Aderant is a legal software vendor, and dare I say, the best in the world. We service over 70 of the top 100 law firms in the world and 170 of the top 100 law firms in America. So we're kind of on top of that. I typically work for on the data ops team, doing things like making sure that we're delivering data to all those law firms that we service. And they are a very feisty bunch, and they really like their data to be as clean and as prepped as possible for their very busy lives as lawyers. So I never stop working with that, and it's a lot of fun. And I'm glad to be here and give you guys any insight as to what I do on a daily basis and how I got here. So I'll turn it over to you, Jasmine.
Thank you, Zach. Yeah. Jasmine.
Hello, my name is Jasmine Williams. I am currently a business analyst with Gainwell Technologies. It is a health tech company. Basically, we help with, healthcare providers. We help them in making better business decisions based off of the data. I am a Europe alum from, I graduated in 2013, but I went through the whole process in 2012. And from there, I was in a variety of different positions. And, I told Deidra this during my internship. I did somewhat similar thing to data analytics, because I was analyzing Citigroup's data for their proprietary program that they had at the time. They had a lot of bugs that was going on. So they wanted to know kind of like a predictive, I was basically kind of doing like predictive analytics to see what bugs would come up, or the amount of bugs that they that may come up with the program, just so they are prepared. So from, doing that, once I really learned what data analytics was, I was like, oh, okay, so I actually kind of did that, when I was doing my internship for Europe. So, but yeah, I'm pretty new to the industry. I guess broke in September. I did a boot camp for 6 months with Full Stack Academy. And, from I learned not all of them, but a lot of the programming languages, SQL, Python, Tableau, I was learning as well. So yeah, that's pretty much the summary.
Thank you, Jasmine. Yes, and part of what you said kind of leads me to one of the questions that I wanted to ask both of you guys, given that some of us here are trying to get into this industry. I just want to make sure that everyone has a baseline understanding of what data analytics is. So if you can share in your own words, what is data analytics?
Well, data is used for everything. It is used in all industries, everywhere. data is collected all the time. So to me, data analytics is basically using the collected data to make better decisions, business decisions, for example, or to predict things, to search for patterns that may come up that would lead to better, decisions in all capacities. Yeah, so it's just basically you're analyzing this data to see the patterns that may come up and make decisions based on that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. And Zach, in your words, how would you explain what data analytics is?
I mean, she used all my words. I would say pretty much along the same lines that a data analyst really is just anybody who is harnessing data to make more informed decisions or help others make more informed decisions. So if that sounds really broad, it's because it is very broad. It could really fit into just about anywhere nowadays. And if you're touching an application, chances are there's data flowing through it. It's kind of the whole idea. So yeah, if you're using that to your advantage, you're a data analyst, even if your job title doesn't say so.
Thank you. Yeah. And then I'm also going to ask, you kind of touched on it a little bit in your introduction about how you got started in this path, right? What led you to becoming a data analyst. But then if you could also share, your journey to becoming a data analyst, and then what would you say someone else could do to get started?
Yeah, of course. So I did mention it was rather a matter of happenstance, and the company I was interning at, which I don't think I mentioned it earlier, it was Pulte Group. They do deserve a shout out. They
built my house, Zach.
Oh, really? Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're everywhere. number 3 home builder in the U.S. But yeah, they were really trying to do right by me and wanted to give me a position, and they actually didn't have many positions available. And they felt that they really needed somebody in the business intelligence space. So they came to me and said, hey, would you be willing to take this on? We saw that you were a good hands-on learner in your internship, so maybe you'd be willing to try something new. And so, yeah, I took it on. And it ended up not being much different than things I had done in the past. It was very SQL heavy. I was doing more software development, but it was tilted towards databases and providing information out of them. And I kind of started to realize as I was working on it that they weren't necessarily looking to me to be like a SQL developer or anything of the sort. They were looking to me to be a subject matter expert on the business and to be able to speak to all the different parts of the business that make it all tick. And it's when I actually was able to do that eloquently that I really felt like, okay, I am a data analyst. I really have a handle on this, and I'm able to guide people in the business based off of what's coming out of this database. So it wasn't necessarily me being able to write a SQL query. It was me being able to tell what that SQL query meant once it came out. And that I would say is kind of the tipping point I would say for anybody who's trying to get in this field is if you are in a position already where maybe you are opening up a spreadsheet to stare at some numbers and you have to deliver that to somebody else, just adding a little bit of insight to that. Maybe being able to more eloquently explain it to the person you got to hand it off to so that they can better do their role. That is how you get started in data analytics. It's just helping people make those decisions. So yeah, that to me, that's the best advice I could offer to anybody looking to hop into the space is just start doing it, and your boss will take notice, your coworkers will take notice, and before you know it, they might be, offering a new project to you in the data space that you never would have gotten otherwise.
Thank you, Zach. Awesome. Jasmine.
Yeah, so I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier. So earlier this year, I seen an advertisement for Full Stack Academy's data analytics bootcamp, and I decided to look a little more into it, into what it was. And like I said, from there, that's when I made that kind of connection. And I said, I think I can do this. Unfortunately, in order for me to be a full-time bootcamp student, I had to actually leave my position that I was in. I was a medical biller. So I made that, tough decision, and I don't regret it. But from there, I did the bootcamp for, like I said, 6 months. we were able to basically learn a broad range of the things that go into being a data analyst. And from there, I was also able to improve on presenting, and because that also depending on your role, that's a big thing with being a data analyst, presenting, because sometimes you have to present, like he said, like Zach said, the insights, and put that into more layman's terms, based on the data. So from there, I graduated the boot camp in July, and from there I was just looking for employment. I was interviewing at multiple places, and when I interviewed with Gainwell, they actually, like, the next day they were like, "We think we want you on the team." So, and I started in early September, and here I am.
Beautiful. Yes, thank you. And Jasmine, you have a beautiful comment from Amber. Way to follow your gut, Jasmine, and make that sacrifice.
Yes. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. So it sounds like, and I'm learning too, guys, I'm no data analyst. So it sounds like it's not just about being able to, read data, understand data, but also presenting the data. That sounds like that's a big part of data analytics. Awesome. So I'm going to remind everyone that joined today, just to remind you guys that we want this to be engaging. So feel free to raise your hand if you have any questions. We want you guys to, feel free to ask any questions you have. If you want to know and learn more yourself, feel free to use that emoji, the reaction, to raise your hand. If you have a question for Zach or Jasmine, we are here for that. And I see a hand raised. Samsung. I don't see a name. I just see Samsung. Unmute, please.
I'm so sorry. I didn't know it says Samsung. It's Fatima.
Fatima, hello.
Yeah. So thank you very much. I really love your panelists. I love the fact that you had someone who graduated and immediately got a job where he did his intern. At the same time, I like the fact that we have another person who, after graduated and had one or two experiences, has to go back to boot camp in order to get into data analytics. I'm so sorry about that. So that really confirmed my fear about the way the job market is so competitive, especially about this particular data analytics. Now, my question is, and I'm directing the question to both Zach and Jasmine. For somebody who might have graduated for a very long time, like me, and who only had a kind of certification with no experience at all, in this field, should somebody like that go back to boot camp in order to, reappraise and reassess him or herself, in order to know maybe it could go into, in order to, before it will be able to get a job? Because I really don't know how easy it will be for such a person to be able to get a job when we have people like you. Just imagine from, with experiences, and imagine from, imagine from school, and at the same time having experiences packed with everything. So I really don't know. So I want to know, how easy is it for the newcomers that only just have the certification, no experiences at all? So can you please shed more light on that? What else can we do to repackage ourselves? Thank you.
Good question, Fatima.
Yeah, I can give my answer, though. I will say I think Jasmine might have the better story here, given that she did have to recently hop on the market, and it's been a little longer since I've been on the market, but I have been on the hiring side, and I can speak to that. One thing that I would say that is a little challenging in this current market is that the data analytics field is extremely popular now, and the junior positions are extremely inflated in terms of the talent available. So it makes it very hard to find one because you're competing with a lot of people. So anything you can do to give yourself an edge is definitely going to help. And really what that is going to look like is going to come down to you. It's really your own comfort, right? If you can take that time off to do a boot camp, it will no doubt benefit you. You're going to learn something. As long as you learn something from it, you're moving forward and you have the chances of increasing your odds at getting hired. At the same time, like I said earlier, sometimes it's easier to look at the current position you're in and say, hey, can I transform the role I'm currently in into a data analyst role? And that might actually be an easier road for you. But it really comes down to what your comfort level is. I will say you should be ready to be a self-starter and learn as much as you can on your own to get that prerequisite knowledge to meet those requirements.
Thank you, Zach. Jasmine, any tips you want to share?
I definitely agree with Zach. As far as like doing a boot camp or anything like that, I believe more so how the bootcamp benefited me was the projects. So I was able to take what I learned, learning SQL and Python, and I took that and I did side projects. And that to me is what you can use to prove that you know what you're doing, or you know how to analyze data. So, like she said, coming from somebody with no experience, I didn't have any experience in this either. It was just me being able to prove with my projects that, hey, I do know this and I know what I'm doing, and I'm able to speak about it, and I'm able to present to you this data and how to improve your business, or how to, different insights into, whatever the topic was at the time. So, I just feel like that's what made me more so stand out in the when I was looking for roles. So, definitely, of course, there's things that you have to learn before you hop into a project. But yeah, I would definitely say, just working on projects and being able to prove yourself.
And Jasmine, what stood out to me are two terms that you just referenced: SQL and Python. It sounds like those are maybe some of the top skills that are maybe necessary for a data analyst. Is that right?
I believe so. I think more so SQL from what I see in the field. Python is another big one, but I definitely think SQL it would be like one of the most important ones to learn.
Awesome. I hope you guys are taking notes down there. If you guys are taking notes, let me see you guys put in the chat SQL. If you guys can put in the chat SQL, just to make sure y'all are following along, okay? Put SQL in the chat. There we go. Awesome. I see some more hands, so I'm gonna go with Selena.
Hi. Can you guys hear me?
Hello. Yes. Hi, Selena.
Okay. Hi, Zach. Hi, Jasmine. Thank you guys so much for sharing. So for me, I currently work as a business analyst, and I'm looking to transition more into a data analyst role. And I was kind of wondering, like, what does a typical day look like for you guys? And also, like, besides the technical skills mentioned, what are like some soft skills that you guys feel like you also use in your day-to-day?
A great question. And what your day is going to look like is really going to vary based on the role. But I could speak to what I've seen in the past. Since I have more of a developer type roles, kind of a mixture of developing and data analysts, that's what I usually do is I show up at work and I make sure all the pipelines that I build ran last night, and so everybody got their data. So it's usually coming in, checking to make sure everything ran overnight like it should have, the data got where it was supposed to, seeing if there's any new requests for data coming in, that's very ad hoc, very constant, because you have your set work that your boss wants you to do, but your boss also has to keep the rest of the business happy, and they always need data, right? So sometimes you might handle a lot of ad hoc stuff. That's where that SQL comes in handy, because sometimes you just got to go hop in a database and give somebody some answers, right? And there may not be a report already for that. So the SQL lets you get around the limitations of pre-existing solutions, basically. And with that under your belt, it allows you to give people answers quickly. So I'll have that going on for usually the first half of my day, and then by the end of the day, I'm usually doing some development, writing some Python for these pipelines and such to kind of, make sure that my next day when I check them in the morning, everything's still working, right? So it's kind of rinse and repeat with that.
Thank you, Zach. Jasmine, what's a typical day like for you?
Currently, my typical day is training. I'm still training with my new team. I'm just learning the process of everything and how everything goes when it comes from start to finish. Usually, there is a ticketing process in this position. So there'll be a ticket put in for, missing data, or they need certain specific information from the data. And from there, it'll be assigned to, one of us on the team. And then we would go into the database, which we use something called Toad, which is SQL. And you go in there and you do the queries to find whatever the information is that is needed. And from there, you would, respond back to that ticket, see if, that's the information that they needed, and close it out. Also, there's another side to it where they improve the data and clean up the data. I'm not there yet, like I said, because I just started, but yeah, so my typical day is basically training at the moment.
One thing about it, you guys really know your stuff. Awesome, thank you. Yes, and Caesar, I see your hand as well. We can't hear you, Caesar. Yeah, I know it's not muted, but it's like there's no sound. All right, we're gonna come back to you. Okay, we'll come right back to you. All right, Shamar.
Hi, Zach. Hi, Jasmine. And thank you for setting this up. Um, I wanted to ask, so I did a data entry job and I just stumbled into it as a bartender, and DoorDash needed someone that could understand alcohol to input it from an Excel sheet to their program. And I was like, well, this is nice. So a lot of my time I was cleaning data um, from Excel sheet and trying to process that into their program. Uh, but that experience led me to um, find out like what data entry is, and now I'm doing the Google Analytics course. And my next question is, uh, where do you see these skill sets most utilized when it comes to cleaning data or presenting data when it comes to job positions? Because, like you said, there's a lot of broad things you could be doing. You could be on the collecting side, you could be on the cleaning side, presenting side. Um, so, uh, where do you find your passion in data? That's really my question.
Good question, Shamar. I just know I got stuck on alcohol and bartending. But Zach and Jasmine, if y'all got the rest of that question, then
Yeah.
please, Shamar.
Firstly, congrats on that come up. That's quite a move, and it sounds like you're already pretty much in the weeds already. That's what you do is kind of the light version of what I do, where I just basically plug data from one system into the next. It's just data entry on steroids, and so you just and that's kind of what I like to do, really. Of course, I kind of like sprinkling a little bit of analytical stuff in there, so I do a little bit with machine learning and such in my job, and I find that's what gets me really excited when I go to work in the morning. This is like, oh, or is my model performing better today? Is it go from 94%, right, to 95%, or something like that, where it's like I'm hanging on every time I click the button, hoping to see something come out. And that to me is really engaging and definitely more engaging than any time I spent as a bartender, though that's a pretty engaging job, I'll say. And I don't know, it clicks with me. Once you have that moment where you see a pipeline run perfectly and you just moved like 10 million records from one database into the other, and there wasn't a single bump in it, and everybody's just happy and nothing happens, that just feels great. You're like, wow, I just replaced a job, so.
Lovely, thank you. And I see, Caesar, I'm checking back with you to see if we're good. Let's see.
Hello.
There we go. There we go, Caesar. All right.
Hey, Zach. Hey, Jasmine. How are you guys? Thank you for being with us. So I have like 2 or 3 questions.
Now, Caesar. Now we're familiar with Caesar. Okay, we work with Caesar all the time. Let's just start with one, and then we'll make our rounds back because we got somebody else with the hand too. Okay.
Perfect. Okay. So my question is, I guess, what are some projects that you guys have done? And so what are some projects that you guys have done?
So I guess I can answer that.
Let me just quickly say, either for work or for your portfolio.
Okay, so for all of my projects on my portfolio as of right now, my last project, which was my capstone project, I did I analyzed the data of US gun violence incidents that has been happening. I did that because at the time, it was, sorry, I can't remember what specific incident inspired me to do that, but I do know around that time something happened. And I found the data for gun violence incidents for like 2012 to 2017. And, I cleaned it up and I was able to draw a lot of insights from it. And I also connected other data just to make more informed insights into like maybe why this is happening. So I connected like, it was the data about population growth. It was data about the guns that were entering into Illinois specifically from surrounding states. So from there, I was able to draw certain insights into why maybe in certain cities, it's a heightened level of gun violence incidents. So that was more so like a passion, project. It wasn't for any like business related reason or anything to improve a system or anything like that. It was just basically, I wanted to see, dive into the data and find out why these incidents were happening and how many were happening and where they were happening at. So that was like my capstone project with Full Stack Academy. But I do have other projects in my portfolio that were more like analyzing business data and where they can improve and where they can market better and things like that. So yeah, I try to like have a variety of projects on my portfolio.
I love that you can take something that you're personally passionate about and apply skill sets so relevant and transferable in your professional career.
Yes, thanks.
Beautiful. All right, I see a hand from Ekaterina.
Hello, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I also graduated from a bootcamp, Aderant school, but not data analytics, software engineering, full stack web development. So my question is for Jasmine, how was your experience with Full Stack Academy? Do you think it's better to join bootcamp with some level of knowledge experience already? And also with your projects in your bootcamp, were you absolutely free with the selection of the ideas for projects, or did they give you anything like to select from? And also, will this recording be shared with us?
Yes, to the recording will be shared with you.
Thank you.
And absolutely, everyone will get the link to the recording afterwards. And then Jasmine, if you wanted to take a stab at her question.
Yes, so I actually really did enjoy the boot camp. It was basically people that were starting from zero experience, zero knowledge. I did have a little bit of knowledge because just from my, just personally looking into stuff and reading and things like that. But for that specific boot camp, you did not have to have, you know, this prior knowledge of everything. They really take time to teach you from the bottom up what you need to know. What was the other part of the question? I'm sorry.
My other part was about the projects, like, or did they give you any directions and what you can do for your projects, or were you absolutely free with your selection of your ideas?
So during the boot camp, it was actually, we did multiple projects. So the projects that were more so not short notice, but the ones that we had to do from Monday and present on Friday. So they would actually give us the data that we needed for those specific projects. For the personal projects, or like my capstone, for example, we were free to pick whatever topic we wanted, whatever data we wanted. Yeah, they did not, you know, guide us in a specific way for that. We had free range.
Thank you so much. And may I just ask a follow-up question? You mentioned that it was actually meant to teach people from zero. Do you think it was helpful that you had some knowledge? Like, people who didn't have any knowledge, did they struggle?
Even me with my prior knowledge, I still struggled. So, you know, I do think it did help in some ways. But I just feel like that's just the nature of learning, you know, these programming languages. You know, it's literally like learning a language, another language. So, you know, I just think it's going to be a struggle, you know, if you do or if you don't. I just think it's, you know, if you're willing to learn, and if you're willing to, you know, take that time out to do what you have to do, I think you can get through it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You guys are asking some really good questions. And I still see some hands. I'm going to try to get to you guys. I didn't forget about you, Caesar. All righty. Let's go for question number 2, Caesar. You're muted. You're muted.
I'm going to do just like Ekaterina and just ask like 3 questions at once.
See now.
So basically, I just had another question that I was thinking of. Now it's like it escaped me, but what was the biggest challenge when learning data analytics? And this could be for both of you guys. What has been the biggest challenge? What do you struggle the most, and how did you overcome it?
That is a good question, and I'll try to convey this as best I can because it's a little abstract. I mean, I fear I may not actually get my idea across. When you're working with data, yeah, you have to learn to think of it a little differently, especially kind of understanding like records and columns and all the structure of it. And I think for me, it was learning SQL and having it click properly to where I really understood what I was saying with the SQL query and understanding like what's going on under the hood. There is kind of that moment where you're every time you're writing it, you're like, wait, why doesn't this work? I could have sworn this worked when I did it this way or something. And you feel like you're beating your head against the wall for a little bit. And then one day you'll just kind of sink in and you're like, okay, this is perfectly sensible. It's almost like English. And bam, from there, it becomes a lot easier to just kind of like move forward, because if I haven't stressed it enough, SQL is like, it really does it for you in this industry. And I think after that, it really, all of it came a lot easier. And that was my big hill to get over. Jasmine, you might have something different though.
I'm sorry, I was trying to answer a question in the chat. What was the question?
I think it was pertaining to the challenge that you had to overcome to get moving in this field.
I think the main challenge for me, something I struggled with, was I was able to clean up the data. I was able to learn SQL. I was able to learn Python. It was gaining the insights from the data. Like, I guess that would be more so of the the soft part of it, the soft skills part of it, but just being able to pull that insight and present it in a way that people would know what I'm saying. That was something I really did struggle with throughout my whole time at the boot camp. I knew what to do with the data, but from there, it was just like, okay, so what is this data telling me? What am I getting from this? That was definitely one of my main struggles with that. And I thought it was going to be more so of the techie part of it, but it wasn't.
The creative part, the more presentation part of it.
Yes,
Gotcha.
exactly.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Good question.
Thank you both.
Yes. All righty. Shamar, I see your hand. Is your hand still up or you had a new question?
Yes, I have sort of like a question and a statement, because I'm doing the Google Data Analytics course right now, which is very interesting. And they had me learn SQL. Now I'm learning R in RStudio. And just a little bit of advice, because I'm timid too, and I heard the word coding and programming. I was like, once I did see it on the screen, it does help, because honestly, it's just English and it's words. Like, it says install package, and that's what the instruction is. And little stuff like that helped me to be more comfortable and confident, and learning that a lot of the analytical skills I already have. So that's one thing I feel the Google course did well. It touched on that we all use analytical skills to make decisions every day. So looking for those trends in different categories is something we do every day, whether it's making the decision if you want to go somewhere. But back to my actual question, um, did you guys do the Google Data Analytics course? And have you seen anybody go on that route instead of a boot camp or the year way? I am at course 7 out of 8, so I'm almost done. My next one is going to be the capstone, and I have to pick a project to do.
And just to I can give Jasmine and Zach some insight. So these current group of apprentices and alumni, they have access to Google Coursera, where they get to take these free courses and do upskilling in various different fields, whether it's project management, IT, data analytics. So that's what Shamar is referring to, that alumni now have access to Google Coursera to take courses relevant to their field. So that's kind of new. So just FYI, so like the OGs like us who graduated eons ago, we didn't have this this new features that you guys now have. So in case Zach and Jasmine were wondering what that was.
I mean, I'm fully aware of what Coursera is, and I'm glad to hear that y'all have access to it. I back in like 2013 or so, Coursera was like a new thing, and I took a class on Python, which is how I kind of got started in programming. So yeah, I can speak to at least the validity of that program and the courses they offer. And yeah, there's no wrong way to go about this in terms of studying and becoming more knowledgeable. You do whatever you can, and any course is good. I took courses from Data Camp, which is a different site, but it focuses on training people up on Python and more advanced machine learning concepts and such. And everyone I know in this field has taken some kind of supplemental course to help them. So yeah, soak it up. Yeah, stay hungry.
Awesome, thank you. And I see Tushar, I see your hand has been up. What's your question?
Yeah, thank you, Zach, and thank you, Jasmine, for taking the time out of your busy day to speak with us. I was really interested in wondering, what is like the most successful and or like most challenging aspect about being a data analyst with working on your projects? I wanted to speak to like how you guys mentioned you guys using SQL and Python, and I think Zach mentioned a couple of times like the buzzword machine learning. I'm really into like neural networks and working with pandas and NumPy, like very popular data science stacks. can you talk to me about like what makes clean data in your role, and how are you being successful doing that?
That's a big question, and I'll try to keep it short. So yeah, I did mention the buzzword machine learning. I do stuff like that, and there is a lot of cleaning data for a role like that. And mostly what it means to have cleaned the data for machine learning is to make it ingestible in a mathematical model. Most of the time, data is not necessarily shaped in a way that is math friendly. It's application friendly. It's made for reading and writing stuff quickly in a database and spitting it back out to users. So deriving insight from it, you really have to have that deeper statistical understanding of how to derive observations from that data. That kind of hits on what Jasmine was saying earlier about actually gaining understanding from the data. Once you have a good understanding of that, then you can systematize it with programming and such. What that ends up looking like is understanding the concepts of vectorization and matrix operations. So it's like linear algebra and beyond. So you really do have to familiarize yourself with those types of concepts. And if you're going to get into the world of neural networks, that's a whole other ball game. You're getting into raw data science, and you're going to have to understand hypothesis verification and really just how to administer the scientific method. And that's going to require understanding processes that are very far removed from traditional software development life cycles. So no more agile, no more waterfall. You're going to data science processes, which are not the same because they never end. Because you never actually know anything, right? Not in science. So it's kind of a different world that you have to really, really rigorously prepare yourself for if you want to get into. And a word of advice too. If you're going to get into machine learning, start with your supervised machine learning models and don't dive into the neural networks. They're flashy, they're cool, but they don't go to production very often. And just because DALL-E is out there doesn't mean that your neural network will make it out there either. So it's a very rigorous, hard world to be a part of, but very rewarding. And you just got to be willing to learn a lot of math.
Well, I like math, so I think that's a really good answer. But you mentioned to touch upon like vectors and like linear algebra.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate the feedback and like your input on it.
Yeah, keep a
constructive feedback. I'm sorry.
Of course, and I was gonna say keep it up with the pandas and NumPy. I actually am a pandas contributor. Just of maybe 6 months ago. It's my first major open source project that I've contributed to. But yeah,
it's quite fun like to work with those arrays and like mathematical like libraries. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it really does. It helps you wrap your brain around it in a different way. So yeah, keep it up.
Awesome. Oh my goodness. I'm really enjoying this dialogue here. Okay, and then I see Fatima, I think you're back. You have another question.
Yes, thank you so much. I have a question, and then I just want to quickly say something before I ask my question concerning the person that I know I'm not part of the panelists. Please, I'm so sorry. The person that asked about Google Data Analytics, I took the same certification program, and I just want to say that it will be fine if right now the person that asked the question has all those activities that we normally do, and all the visualization of some of the data that we normally do, and it will keep them. If there is a way to gather them and save them and make that part of his portfolio. That was the mistake I think I made. I never had any of those stuff. Despite the fact that I did them. So now that I'm trying to build a portfolio, it's kind of challenging for me. But to say whether it's worth it or not, I believe it has really prepared me enough. So I really don't know about him, but I think it's okay and it's good. And then my question is for Jasmine. She talked about completing a capstone and then showcasing his work, her work on what she did. I really want to ask her how she was able to show that. Did she just post it on LinkedIn, or she always attached that to a job application? That's my question for her.
So my projects are actually linked on my resume. So from there, if, during the interview, they may ask, expand on this, or, can you walk us through the project, or because they see it's on my resume. So as far as that, like when I was job searching, that's how they were able to see my projects.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome, thank you. All right, and I'm going to close out the last question from the audience with Katarina.
Thank you. I would like to ask about interviews. From your experience, how does the interview for data and analyst role look like? What was challenging? How did you prepare? And what were they testing you on?
Okay, so the interviewing process for me was very nerve-wracking. I do think it depends on the company and the specific role that you're applying for. For instance, the role I'm currently in, I did not have to do a technical interview. They did ask me about my SQL skills and kind of just telling them what I'm able to do in SQL. But there was no like test given to me. Another interview I did, they actually gave me a test and I had 48 hours to give it, give it back to them. It was a marketing position. So it was basically marketing data for, it was fake data, but I basically had to draw insight from that data on how they can improve on their campaigns, what campaign was doing better than the other, so forth and so on. So that was pretty that was pretty nerve-wracking. I was able to pass that technical interview, but I decided to go with my current position. But yeah, so the interview process for me, like I said, I just think it depends on what role and what company you are interviewing with, whether they do a technical interview or they just do a behavior interview. It really just depends. I think more so like for my my classmates from Full Stack, most of them had technical interviews. So I definitely think that's something that you should prepare for. It can be like me, 48 hours where they give you the work and you have to give it back in 48 hours. For some of my classmates, it was 24 hours. Some of them was right then and there. You had to do it in front of them. So it all just depends. But yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Thank you, Zach.
Yes, thank you. I would like to hear from Zach as well. What about his experience interviewing? What helped you to prepare?
Oh, I'll say it wasn't too much different. There is definitely a lot of, you'll see technical interviews a lot. I've done a lot of technical interviews and most of the time I was asked to code in the interview. And sometimes it was writing SQL queries. Sometimes they would just literally show you a database and say, hey, tell me what's going on here. Like explain to me what tables are related. Tell me, describe the data model to me. And so you really do have to be able to kind of do stuff on the spot, which can be nerve-wracking without a doubt. It doesn't matter how good you are at it. You're always gonna feel nervous in that situation. So do prepare for that. And she mentioned as well, there is a behavioral element, as like most of the time you'll have to do some kind of like interview that tests for your soft skills, right? But it's a little more important, even if you have a technical background. I think I remember you saying that you studied full stack. It's not quite like that world, even if you are kind of back end like I am. You are going to have to talk to people. You are going to have some discourse and explain tough concepts to people who really don't even want to know. It's just like they just want to know the answer. They don't want to know all the details. So you have to really be able to break it down for people from really complex concepts sometimes. So as long as you kind of stay on top of that, just make sure that you can speak eloquently about the subject. Make sure you know the tools that you've used in the past, or that you know the tools that they're looking for well, and that you can be a little candid and make fun of yourself a little bit when you're in one of those nerve-wracking interviews, because you're going to type something wrong. You're going to have a typo, and they're really going to be looking to see, do you break down in this pressure, or do you just laugh it off and keep going? Because nobody ever gets it right in the real world, even once you've got the job. There's going to be mistakes. They just want to see that you can roll with it.
Thank you so much.
Of course. That last piece of advice right there, Zach, thank you. That's a golden gem. And that doesn't matter if it's data analytics or if it's any field, right? They're going to see whether or not you can handle the pressure or how you react in response. beautiful advice. Jasmine, Zach, you guys did amazing. You guys answered some tough questions. And I also want to let everyone in the audience know that at some point we would love to have you guys up here on the panel. So at some point in the future, you guys just may be up here in the hot seat like Zach and Jasmine. But thank you everyone for attending. And so Zach and Jasmine, if you guys can leave, if there's just one piece of advice that you want to share, and if you are open to connecting with everyone that attended here, if you don't mind sharing your LinkedIn or any way that you are open to having them connect with you.
So yeah, I threw my email down there as well as just, you guys can connect to me on LinkedIn. And make sure you go a little deeper and click connect, because it does this whole little follow thing by default and you might not actually connect with me. So I've been noticing that happening a lot. So yeah, and just one final note, if I haven't hit this point enough, because I feel like I kind of did hammer on it, you guys can do this already. Just take control of your position, start answering questions that maybe people weren't answering before. Go download Power BI, go learn Tableau, just play around in Excel a little more. Y'all have all the means to do so probably already. And maybe all that's keeping you from being a data analyst is just saying to your boss, hey, where does this data come from? Can I get that myself? And it could all start from there. I promise. It's as easy as that. And it might be easier to do that than to hop out in this job market, because it could be pretty hot out there, I'll tell you.
I would say one piece of advice I would give is do not let imposter syndrome get to you. As Zach said, you can do it. All it is just taking the time to learn the concepts and to learn what goes into it. And even on those days where you think, oh, I can't do this, I don't know this, I don't know that, you can. And this is such a wide, broad industry that even if marketing is not good for you, something else may be good for you. So just definitely just do not let yourself get in your way. Yeah, that would be my advice.
Thank you. You guys were so inspiring, and I love the turnout. I love everyone that joined, your questions, your engagement, your comments in the chat. Beautiful. Thank you guys so much for your time. You guys made this very much worthwhile. Again, YUPRO, we want to continue to do this series. You guys will stay tuned for what comes out next and when we're going to do the next panel. And we very much may reach out to some of you guys that attended today. So thank you guys so much for your time.